My next masculine interest is smoking. Obviously, you can see I smoke cigars. Sometimes I smoke pipe tobacco. I prefer cigars, but I will go to a pipe when I can't, give up my time to smoke an entire cigar. At times you don't want a whole cigar, can't have a whole cigar, so I smoke pipes as well. And I also smoke cannabis. It's something that I'm very passionate about and is a great form of medicine and really helps me out as an athlete. And I've just found that smoking is a simple yet complex indulgence that, like everything else here, is something that is more masculine, more for men than women, something women generally don't like to be around when a man is doing it, and something that is, he's better off doing by himself or with other men. And something that also stimulates the intellect as well. When you're, maybe not smoking cigarettes, but pipe tobacco and cigar smoking, have cultures of connoisseurs who enjoy it more as a form of art or craft where they're very intellectual about it. And cannabis, of course, stimulates the intellect, makes you more creative, makes you more philosophical, makes you more spiritual and imaginative. So it just makes you more intellectual, and it is great for many things for that reason. And it's also good physical medicine, as I mentioned. And living alone as a man, I can smoke whenever I want to without a woman complaining. I can fill this place up with smoke if I want to without a woman complaining or trying to kick me into some sort of pre-designated man cave where I basically have become a prisoner in my own home. And I think that smoking is a really great masculine, manly interest, but it's also not healthy for you. Smoke is carcinogenic. So, not something that I would say I highly recommend or that I recommend doing all the time. And as you can see, I don't always enjoy my cigars by smoking them. All right, you can just cold draw it and get the taste of it without it being lit yet. All right, so, that's just something to keep in mind. But next is an interesting one. Cultivating a masculine image so that you can look like the person you want to be and thus will feel like the man you want to be and will command the respect of others that you want to respect you. So for me as an American man, having been raised in American culture in the 1980s, 90s, and early 2000s, I like the traditional men's suit and that classic male look. And I find this to be a pretty unifying archetype for men, not just within my culture, but the suit is worn around the world in many other cultures. So I think that finding a unifying archetypal male image or a uniform for men, isn't a bad thing. I think that that's something that's good that we've cultivated this around the world. It is good for us to have this sort of uniform that we can rely upon to be able to seen as respectable, manly men, generally around the world wherever we go, which we can rely upon in professional situations, or, if I'm invited to a classy event, I'm not going to be confused and lost on what to wear. It is good to know what you ought to wear in order to be respected in the cultures or countercultures or, social situations you're going to be finding yourself in. And then to cultivate a masculine image for yourself that is accustomed to your personality and character and identity within that cultural uniform. This is something I'm going to talk more about in a future video coming up, and I'll be talking a little bit more about men's fashion and such then, so you can look forward to that. But moving on, number 8, one of my favorite hobbies and art forms that I am most passionate about and I feel enriches my life more than just about anything else is film. And I mean both watching and making film, which are two different experiences. But film is my favorite art form. I think it's the ultimate art form because it is the culmination of the 4 great art forms of writing and storytelling, visual art, performance art, and music or sound. And thus it is really the greatest expression of the arts and is an incredibly engaging artistic medium that should not be underestimated because it is so emotionally and intellectually stimulating and enriching. I mean, a good film, when you focus on it, can really suck you into the fantasy that it is creating for you and make you feel like you're a part of another world and taking part in the storyline yourself, just like the other characters, and make you actually feel emotions that you wouldn't feel in your real life. So I find it to be a very psychological experience that has really enriched my life, and I hope that you men out there as well find film to be a valuable art form. And if you do, be sure to list what your favorite films are and whatever film recommendations you might have that you think others such as myself should check out, because I'm always looking for movies to add to my list. So film is a very important part of modern life and where our modern mythology comes from. It's important to have these stories and these art forms to be a positive influence on us and an intellectual source of stimulation. And I obviously can't tell you what types of films to watch. Some of my favorites, if you're interested, would be The Godfathers Part 1 and 2. Obviously, got to start with those. And then there's the original Scarface from 1932, not the one in 1980 with Al Pacino, which is actually a remake of a classic film, one of the very first gangster films ever, and one of the first films ever, too. Really a historic, monumental work of art that is a classic still today. It's still good today. I recommend checking that out if you're into film. And then close behind The Godfather and the original Scarface is There Will Be Blood. So that would be, like, I think the number 3 movie ever made, in my opinion. Daniel Day-Lewis's best performance, just like the best actor ever, doing his best performance ever. Very great expression of masculinity, great men going their own way movie, great entrepreneurship movie, and just a great piece of art and performance by him. And I'm actually planning on doing a monologue from that film, one of the speeches that Daniel Day-Lewis makes. So you can stay tuned for that. Interstellar, one of my top 10 films of all time, something I could write an entire thesis on. And they actually did write a textbook on the science behind it. The people, the scientists who worked on the film. It's just one of the most incredible works of science fiction of all time, and works of film and art. Definitely made me cry every time I saw it, honestly. And it is a story that's not just scientific, but philosophical and emotional. Deals with relationships and time and space, and something every man should watch, I think. I saw it in the theater 4 times and have seen it countless times since. Another film I've watched countless times is Casino. I think I've watched it in full from front to end like 36 or 39 times. So I've spent over 100 hours watching that film because it's just that good, and it's a 3-hour movie. And then there's other times I would just watch parts of it because, I've studied film, and so there's certain films I would watch over and over that were like classics and basically study those films, and that was one of them. Casino is just one of the, I think, greatest works of entertainment. It is not just a work of art, it is one of the most entertaining things to watch. The lights, the colors, the adrenaline pumping sequences of violence that happen every so often, the relationship drama, and the glitz and the glamour of the story, and the amazing performances of the top-notch actors. It's done by Martin Scorsese, so of course it's so well directed. And one of the hitmen who was actually carrying out the hits in real life was in the film reenacting the hits that he did. So it's almost like a documentary, how realistic it is, true to the story and the way that it happened in real life. Martin Scorsese was very accurate about it. And then there's, of course, Goodfellas. I think everyone's seen Goodfellas, and it gets talked about more than Casino. So just make sure you've seen them both. Since Goodfellas is already so popular, I'm not going to talk about that at all. But then there's also Pulp Fiction, Tarantino's probably best or most popular film, a sort of gangster film with all these intertwining stories, much like Snatch and Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels, both by Guy Ritchie, that are the same types of things. I think these are dark comedies. I'm not sure if you would consider Pulp Fiction a dark comedy, but Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels and Snatch are definitely dark comedies with this sort of Seinfeld-like plot of interweaving characters in these comical but very dark situations, and they're gangsters. So there's some violence and such, and just classic gangster movie stuff. So if you like gangster movies, make sure you've seen all of those. Let's see, another one would be Predestination, another great sci-fi work of art. It's the ultimate time travel and time loop movie, and is just a real mind fuck. It deals with the concept of love and self, and the masculine and feminine sides that we have, masculinity and femininity. And again, time and space and life, and it is just an amazing psychological film. And then another one by Francis Ford Coppola, who did The Godfather, that is another classic, is Bram Stoker's Dracula. Francis Ford Coppola's Bram Stoker's Dracula. And Francis Ford Coppola made sure to keep Bram Stoker's name in it to display the fact that he did the movie script entirely accurate to the classic book that was written in the 1800s. And so the story is really on point, which no other Dracula films ever have been. Very accurate to the original. So it is a classic, and the directing is just so beautiful. All of these sequences, are so beautiful, and a lot of the shots are things that can be taken as photographs. I mean, even though it's a horror film, he makes it very beautiful, and of course it's a romance, so he makes it be a beautiful romance as well. Just a really great film that I highly recommend. And then you got Sin City, amazing neo-noir, black and white with splashes of color, comic book-like over-dramatization because it is based on graphic novels. and just the ultimate in, I think, the art of violence, as well as, you know, this sort of dark neo-noir style done by Robert Rodriguez. So I highly recommend that if you're into artsy things, but things that are also dark and violent. And what I think is one of the best directed films of all time, and I think in my top 10, if I haven't gone over yet, is Rob Zombie's Devil's Rejects. The Devil's Rejects is like a B movie, basically, that is like a work of art because of the camera work and the directing and the acting and the editing and production, of course, as well. And it is really a work of art when it comes to filmmaking that I think should be taught about in schools. So if you're really into film and you don't mind hardcore violence, then check it out. And then there's Whatever Works, as well as Vicky Cristina Barcelona by Woody Allen, two of the best romance films ever made. And Woody Allen really, I think, is the only guy out there who makes romance films that are actually good. So these are his two best films about romance and what it's like in real life. That if you want to watch a romance movie that is actually smart, realistic, funny, artistic, sexy, and does not have a happy ending or any of that fairy tale romance bullshit or, you know, Disney Hollywood romance bullshit to it, but is really just about what modern dating is like, and is a really amazing story, again, with like characters with these intertwining complexities. Check those out. That's Vicky Cristina Barcelona and Whatever Works by Woody Allen. Larry David is in Whatever Works. Those are what I would say are my top 10 films of all time. And so check any of those out that you haven't seen. It sounds like, you know, they might be something that you are into. I think you'll find them very inspiring, to say the least.
If you're a macho man like me, you love mafia movies. Now, unfortunately, they haven't come out with any good ones since like the 90s, but fortunately, I've written my take on the great American novel, a new classic for our time, The American Mafioso, a short crime novella that is written in scenes just like a movie and is equally psychological as action-packed. It's a super short and exciting page-turner that will keep you on the edge of your seat right up through the shocking finish. Get yours at the link below for the super low price of just $5. And if you love mafia stories and gang culture and want to understand the truth behind the mafia from a more academic perspective and get into the history, culture, sociology, politics, business, and psychology of the mafia, then my new book, The Italian-American Mafia, A Socio-Political Perspective, is just for you. The Italian-American Mafia, called Cosa Nostra, was the most powerful organization this country has ever seen. So, what secrets can we men learn from old-school mafiosi to help us improve our lives today? This book gives a gritty inside look at the mafia, along with an intellectual analysis of it that makes this book perfect for someone who is just as nerdy as they are macho. Get yours in the link below for the low price of just $10. The perfect books for a man's man to read while on the toilet, for instance, or just on the couch, or in your favorite chair, or a throne perhaps, or anywhere you might sit and watch TV, except this time instead of watching TV, you're reading, so that you don't have to be stupid from only watching TV. And unlike most books, these aren't even boring. This one, in fact, is just as exciting as watching a movie if you were watching a movie in book reading form, while this one is extremely intellectually stimulating. Now, you can actually get smarter from reading while also being super entertained at the same time. It's a modern miracle of science. The science of the mafia. The science of machismo. So hurry up and get your copies today before I have to jack up the prices, skim more off of the top on account of inflation eating up all of my profits. I got a business to run, you know. Now go on, get out of here before I have you whacked. Capiche?
But next, moving on, number 9 is self-help and therapy, or some form of therapy, or doing things that are therapeutic. If you can't find a therapist who supports your masculinity, which will often be the case today in this day and age with how the therapy field is, but you can do other things that are therapeutic and self-help oriented in the place of a therapist, like meditation, journaling, taking psychedelics, doing things for good mental health and self-discovery, and or whatever types of personal development activities you want to engage in. Doing things for good mental health and self-discovery and self-development is the key to happiness and living well and achieving your dreams.
Wait a minute. Now a word from our sponsor, me. Do you value the ability to use words to do things such as compose meaningful sentences and speak the truth? Did you know that here in this great country of America, you have the right to free speech? And so do I. And if you don't support people who are exercising that right, then you are probably a fascist dictator. Just like the YouTube algorithm, which stifles the content of patriotic people like me who dare to speak out against the gynocentric, matriarchal, feminist regime that has been aggressively taking over our country. And if YouTube isn't going to promote my content and is going to suppress it instead, I can only rely upon you, my viewers, to show your support. If you don't support free speech, we will stop having it. Which is exactly what is already happening with YouTube videos that censor themselves getting promoted and explicit ones like mine getting shadow banned. So, if you like listening to me use my free speech, make sure to press like and share and donate whatever you can with the PayPal link below. Don't make me work for free and get censored like a fucking communist. And with the presidential election coming up, your donations can literally be used to fund my campaign to get into the White House and abolish the matriarchy once and for all. Literally. Who would you rather have as your president? An old limp-dick liberal leftist cuck with noodly arms who's probably never been in a real fight in his life? Or a good old-fashioned, misogynistic, patriarchal man's man like me with balls big enough to stand up to women, and who you can count on to speak out against them and tell it like it is. Fight the feminazi dictatorship. Spread the message of masculinism. Keep my work alive. And now, back to our regularly scheduled content.
Now, moving on, lastly, is spending time in nature. Something that I've found is just a very good masculine activity that every man really needs in some way, be it hiking, going to the beach, mountain biking, mountain climbing, camping, whatever it is, however you can get into nature to spend some time in nature, that is just so good for you as a man. It's something that reinforces our own natures. It's the environment that we were intended to be in. And the more cut off from nature you are, the worse off you are. Right? And the more emasculated you get as a man. Notice the new society of this Generation Z, what are being called soy boys, these extremely weak, effeminate beta males who you can tell are completely out of touch with their masculine primal nature because they never do anything like going hiking or camping. They've never had to chop wood and build a fire, stuff like that, so they get soft and feminine, right? And as a man, getting in touch with nature is so therapeutic and helpful to you in so many ways. It makes you feel better. Nature is a great antidepressant. It is meditative and helps you feel more at peace and centered. And it gets you back in touch with your primal animal nature, right? And that sort of lost alphaness, that wildness within that we need to get back in touch with at times as a man. And it's something you should be doing alone or with other men, again, without female influence, okay, because it is a masculine activity. Notice how many things here we have that are forms of intellectual stimulation that we as men really need to be doing alone because of the fact that women take these things away from us. If we do them with women, they will detract from the situation, right? Or, if we propose doing them with a woman, she will most often, try to take us away from that idea and into doing something else. So what I've noticed, and the reason why I'm providing these types of lists for you, is because there is so much more intellectual stimulation that you can get without women when you do more masculine activities alone by yourself. It will stimulate your mind in ways that you need as a man and will greatly improve the quality of of your life as one as well. So again, while I'm not saying that this is what a man has to do in order to be a manly, masculine man, that you have to be interested in my masculine interests in order to be masculine. No, these are just some things that have really helped me to be the man that I want to be and feel how I want to feel as a man and live the best, most masculine life I want to live as one. So I just hope that by putting this stuff out there, it can be at least a little inspirational, that hopefully some men out there will take at least a little inspiration from this to, enhance their lives and, better themselves by putting more focus on what really matters to them in life, whatever that may be. Your interests, your values, your passions, your pursuits, your goals and dreams, ones that are as masculine as you want to be without any female holding you back from your true potential as a man. It is up to you to figure out what living like the man you want to be means to you and how you are going to do it. All right? I'm just here to lead by example and to tell you not to let any woman out there take you away from your masculine interests and achieving your full potential with them as a man. So be masculine, be yourself, do what you want, live your own life, and share your masculine interests and any hobbies or things that you might recommend us men out there doing by commenting below. So that concludes this talk. Thank you for listening. And if you like this video, be sure to hit the like button and share these messages with everyone by sharing the video on social media and talking about these things as well. And lastly, check out the links in the description below for other resources for your masculine personal development and living the life you want to as an independent man. And stay tuned for the next video coming out soon, which will be on good masculine character strengths and qualities to cultivate. And make sure you're subscribed so you can be notified when that is. And otherwise, take care of yourselves, men, because no woman out there is going to.